I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996, I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We've opened Skull and Bones, the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on. I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest. Number 322.
I have duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Welcome back to Already Dead, your favorite weekly live call-in conspiracy show. You Already Dead heads, be sure to call in. We'll have the number up shortly. We have plenty to talk about. We have the saga of the weekend wars still continuing, but hey, it's okay. We're saving it for the weekend. So only war on the weekend, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Don't worry about it. We got oil markets to be concerned about. But yeah, we have plenty to go through with you all today. We have Austin Picard, as always, and myself, Jose Galison, your intrepid co-hosts. So Austin, how are you feeling this week? I don't know. It seems like just kind of we're on autopilot a little bit from last week. Nothing really has changed. Things have gotten worse, although sort of better, but not. It's a little confusing. It's a lot of just a whiplash diplomacy that's completely founded on bullshit. So.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. But I will say, I mean, false flag watch 2.0 in a way. As far as the past couple of weeks, we've been on the lookout, our heads on a swivel, and here we go again. Again is kind of how it feels, right? Just as far as the San Andreas meme. But when I saw this strange report of these major anti-Semitic arson attacks, or at least one specifically that happened in London, that was called.
I thought, where do I sign up? Sorry, yeah. Just a joke. To be very clear.
You got to be careful these days, apparently, because we're having American sheriffs just order the arrests of individuals, Americans, for being anti-Semitic. But I will say there's a little bit more, details to that story. But I thought this anti-Semitic arson attack specifically on these Jewish volunteer ambulances that were apparently set on fire in London. This is Golders Green, London, apparently, where these 4 ambulances were destroyed. And it's of Hetzela Northwest, which is a volunteer Jewish emergency service providing 24/7 medical aid. And if you look at the original reports from this apparent incident, you have Yeshiva World News, right? This WYN reporter was the first on the scene to document it publicly, posting breaking news with on-scene video footage at like 2 a.m. Just after the London Fire Brigade apparently was called in and showed up to the deliberate arson on Highfield Road, allegedly. And so Met Police confirmed it as an anti-Semitic hate crime immediately on the scene with no injuries. And then instantly you had major publications follow suit, and like CNN and Telegraph News and ABC just a few hours later citing the exact same scene with all the very similar details, right? And instantly, man, you see reports of Iranian passport found at burn site of Jewish ambulances in the UK. And this included a copy of Mein Kampf, okay, also recovered intact in the burnt down vehicles. So tell me what that resembles in the instant memory that comes to mind in terms of 9/11 and the supernatural passports that evaded any sort of burn damage whenever they fell from the the passenger airplanes, right? It's just
maybe it's more of an act of God. You ever hear those stories about like when your grandma will be like, "Oh, then the house burnt down, but the Bible was still there." And it's like supposed to be this weird twist of like, oh wow, the Lord works in mysterious ways. It's like, Janice, your house burned down.
yeah, get real with yourself, please, because
so the Mein Kampf survived the blaze, and we should all interpret something out of that. I don't know what an omen that is, but
right.
I think it means something. Second coming.
100%. Hey, that's what we're meant to believe at this point. And I will say major escalation in the Iran war conflict, but we can kind of set that aside for a brief moment, because I think it's worth tabling just to address the fact that our buddy Jake Shields, right? I saw him post on this ambulance attack, and he posts, "Why did Jews have special ambulances just for them?" Yeah. And I thought that was a poignant, kind of.
I bet you this is a bit speculation, but the first thing that came to mind that when you said that is I would put money on it. It's some sort of welfare scam. It's whether it's a tax write-off or what, and then they just get a fucking old ass bread van. They call it an ambulance. They have like one Jew, maybe even their wife, not even really like the dude, just like kind of, have a phone number, and then they just somehow rake in some sort of welfare benefit of some sort. I mean, this is London, so that would totally check out that they have like which you could kind of understand how bureaucracy would create some sort of situation like that, where you're like, trying to create the incentives for localities to take care of their own, but obviously there's a certain group of people that like to manipulate those sort of things. Now, to be fair, I mean, I am an anarchist, so I think government by its own existence creates the situation that there's rife for this sort of manipulation, but still doesn't mean you got to be a piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think the fact that the very same organization, which is this Hetzela ambulances for Jewish communities, apparently there's one in New York, right? And they basically offer this 24/7 ambulance service to the Jewish community specifically. And so New York Jews also have their own Hetzela ambulances. And in 91, I found this to be kind of interesting. Race riots apparently erupted after a 7-year-old African-American boy was hit by a car escorting a, quote, grand rabbi that ran a red light. The Hetzela ambulance loaded the Jewish car driver but left the child behind to die in the street. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, take care of your own is the concept behind this organization. That was in 91, so who knows how much they've evolved. I doubt very much, but you never know. I will say that there's a ABC News report on this specific case that I thought might be worthwhile, because just the way in which they highlight and grant the spotlight to specifically hunting down anti-Semites, right? And basically this eruption in anti-Semitic propaganda and individuals on social media and things of that nature, who are clearly this is exactly what we've been shouting from the rooftops for months at this point. I mean, probably years by now, about the justification. And I think it's effectively happening. The slippery slope is taking form, and we're kind of witnessing it happen in real time. But anyway, I'll share this real quick. Jewish volunteer ambulances set on fire in London, investigated as hate crime.
ABC News Live first. London police are investigating an alleged arson attack on 4 ambulances run by a Jewish community center. Police say it happened early this morning in the city's Golders Green section. Authorities are reviewing this CCTV footage showing the moment they were set on fire. Now police say the attack's being treated as an anti-Semitic hate crime, and they're searching for 3 suspects. Our Maggie Rulli's in London with more. Hi, Maggie. So police say they're aware of an online claim from a group taking responsibility for the attack. What's the latest on the investigation?
Hey, Diane. Yeah, right now this investigation is still ongoing. But as you noted, the arson attack overnight, it is being treated as an anti-Semitic hate crime. Those 4 ambulances belonging to a Jewish volunteer emergency service, they were set on fire, causing the oxygen canisters to explode. Now, that fire happened right outside a synagogue, as you mentioned, the Golders Green. It's a traditionally Jewish neighborhood in North London. Witnesses say they saw 3 people approach the ambulance right before the fire, and police confirmed that they're currently going over and going through surveillance footage. Now, the counterterrorism police are investigating, but Dan, at this point, no arrests have been made.
Police say they're going to step up their support for Jewish communities in London, but we're also seeing other attacks on Jewish communities around the world. How are people reacting to that?
This is what's concerning, Diane. I mean, this month alone, there have been multiple attacks on Jewish sites around the world, multiple in the Netherlands alone, including an explosion at a Jewish school in Amsterdam. Gunmen opened fire on 3 synagogues in Toronto. In Belgium, a synagogue was bombed, and an attack targeting the Jewish community was thwarted in France. And then, Diane, of course, there was that horrific attack in the States in Detroit, a man driving his truck into a synagogue with dozens of children inside at the time. Now, none were hurt. The suspect's family in that incident was killed.
Whoa, back up.
And many experts
are they talking about that thing from the other week? There were kids in the car. That was not reported initially.
Yes.
That's
right.
new. Sorry, not to. I just thought that was significant because that's
definitely
a whole different new wrinkle in this in the story there. Okay.
Yeah. Did they just mention that a member of the suspect's family wound up dead apparently in the following days? Because that would also be very interesting.
Yeah.
But again, what does this reflect? I mean, it's anti-Semitic gladio worldwide.
Yeah.
That's honestly what it feels like in a real way. Some way of deflecting away from the ongoing genocide and current ongoing conflict in Iran, which is clearly stoking a worldwide. I mean, this is World War III in its early stages, in my opinion, right? And as much as people would like to act as if this is some, far off. Dystopian outcome.
I think BB, assuming he's alive, is going to drop a nuke. So, I mean, actually, not even assuming, regardless of whether he's alive or not, they're going to have. Right. I think they're going to drop a nuke, and I wouldn't even actually be surprised if the hand gets overplayed if BB ends up being some sort of scapegoat, which would even more lead into the fact that he may not even be alive. So they just got to squeeze it out long enough until they're ready to play their scapegoat plan. So
right. I will say whether or not Netanyahu is dead it's not. It honestly doesn't even matter at this point, right? As much as it seems like the ultimate purpose of the Netanyahu proof of life conspiracy was to ultimately weaponize this narrative and concept in general, in a certain sense, not as if that's the priority and the number one, factor in the agenda that they're pursuing. I highly doubt it, but why would that not be a convenient consequence of the outcome in itself, right? Of people who, took the bait, whether you believe it or not. I do think it's being utilized and leveraged against the public in that very sense, in terms of the debunking of Netanyahu's alleged death, right? Which obviously has been reported by mainstream publications. So they're pushing back in a real way. And
just to comment on that real quick, I just think that the big takeaway for our people is just don't be retarded. Realize the landscape. Be willing to express what you know in a relatively accurate way. I mean, obviously, people are living their lives. You can't go to great pains to specificity for your language at all times. Right. But generally speaking, if you're somebody out there, yep, Netanyahu's dead, or even the opposite of there's no fucking way he's dead. There's no way he's dead. Yeah. Either way, you're kind of an idiot, and you're kind of playing into it. It's just be we're in a current landscape with the information situation where we're kind of in a post-reality state.
Right.
And so and even then you can kind of make the point that it's really kind of irrelevant, whether it's BB or whether it's the government of Israel. It's all the same difference. But you can still be honest about that and be like, I don't know, he could be fucking dead. Maybe he's not, which is kind of what me and you have been saying, which is I mean, who fucking knows? You can be like, hey, yeah, it looks fishy. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he's dead, but we don't have to in any way commit to the fact he's dead. It's really kind of a red herring. Seems to be completely beside the point.
Right. And I think, I mean, I said as much the other day. I think I was just talking to my wife and venting and in a way, but I pretty much outlined the fact that, it doesn't matter whatsoever whether Netanyahu's dead or not. We're all focused and bogged down on this nonsensical debate that in reality, this is a puppet on a string in Netanyahu. He's in no way right behind any of these policies in general, as far as the manufacturing the policies, and he's just a face of the regime and has been for far too long. And
he's not even the most extreme of his his coalition, like not even close. Like if anything, he's kind of somewhat moderate, maybe a little bit more on the stronger side of things. But yeah, you look at Smotrich, you look at Israel Katz, you look at who else am I thinking of? Ben Gvir. Like, look at the crazy shit they say, and those are all members of his cabinet. So like, those aren't like nobodies. I don't know how many members are on a cabinet, but that's like 3 members of the cabinet, and right there, every single one of them is far more explicit in their overtly genocidal language. When and this is kind of ends up who gets their way, and Netanyahu is actually kind of the somewhat more palatable version of all that, so if you can believe it. And they're probably going to scapegoat it and then maybe put some sort of other figure that kind of is sort of known for being a liberal over there, which, let's be real, a liberal over there, when they say that, they mean somebody who's actually still pretty crazy with some of that shit. He's just a slightly more palatable. So they'll probably essentially get their own version of an Obama after they, pass off all the bad juju on Netanyahu, when that didn't even matter to begin with. Because like I said, you look at their coalition, especially the way that their politics are structured, that's the coalition. That's I mean, regardless of who you have leading it, that's going to end up being what probably ends up happening. So
exactly. And Netanyahu, you saw that press conference, right? He comes out and publicly reveals himself for the first time in quite a while, and the first thing he says is, first of all, I just want to say I'm alive and you're all witnesses. And then it was in that very same public statement that he basically says, Jesus Christ has no advantage over Genghis Khan, because if you are strong enough, ruthless enough, powerful enough, evil will overcome good. And it was just very strange language.
Wasn't that same speech he was talking about how Iran, but he was doing this like language that like what the fuck are you talking about? Where he's saying stuff like, oh, you'll see blackmail that you've never even been able to imagine before. And like, he doesn't explicitly say Iran, but that's kind of the implication given of like what he just said. But you also can kind of, some of the things he's saying, completely understand this is like, bitch, this is what we're going to do with you. And he's mentioning I think he even said some sort of vague language about like weapons of mass destruction or something like that, kind of implying, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be, I really do. Hell, even Trump put out a Truth Social very recently. I forget specifically. He said something along the lines alluding to weapons of mass destruction and kind of saying we have all the cards. So now I actually don't think that the United States would be the one who dropped a nuke in this situation, but they're already throwing it out there. And I think if Israel does it, I really do think that they'll probably be almost certainly completely in the know. We get this fiction thrown about that Trump's being led by the nose. But I think that's big time major cope. Like maybe he doesn't want 100% exactly the game plan that the Jews are rolling with. But like, I mean, maybe he would wish it to be different. And yeah, maybe there's a blackmail component that causes him to somewhat fall in line. But I think it was to some degree, this was kind of the known plan. I mean, maybe there's some minor detours, but I don't really feel yeah.
I read this report that basically claimed that when Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner were meeting with Iran, basically Iran thought it was very strange and made the statement to basically say as much, right? Where they thought the fact that the Americans didn't provide or bring any nuclear experts into the negotiations. That was very strange, just at face value. That clearly the implication was they had no real intention of acting in good faith as far as the negotiations were concerned. So, I mean, the fact of the matter is this was doomed to fail from the start. This conflict was on the table from day one, and we warned as much the moment Trump took office. I think maybe even before that, as far as not to take any strange victory lap, because obviously the outcome is absolutely dystopian. The point being, how people don't see this for what it is earlier on and continually fall for this, right? Just kind of smoke and mirrors and very naive and vulnerable outlook on the paradigm of power in general. It's frustrating to see, but I will say, to fuel the speculation on Netanyahu's proof of life conspiracy, you have his son suddenly, basically after Netanyahu cancels his plans at CPAC just before the basically this happened, right? This was on March 21st that I saw this basically post, and so Netanyahu suddenly cancels his plans to go to CPAC, and then you have his son replace him, Yair, not Netanyahu, and this happened in Hungary. And it was a strange interview that I saw of him. It was very short, but still. The fact of the matter is, I kind of looked at this as just as far as certain prominent personalities that kind of, at the very least, they wield some sort of influence, right, in the public's, just as far as public perception, right, just in terms of their platform in general, like a Joe Rogan, for example, who have become almost the target of these attempted, just as far as damaging the credibility of individuals such as this. And I'm not setting him up on some pedestal in any way as far as this specific context. I just saw it, and we sort of predicted it in terms of Netanyahu's proof of life conspiracy, and honestly not mattering at this point, because it seems like the ultimate purpose was to weaponize the narrative and the concept in general. And I saw that playing out in a certain sense as far as prominent profiles on social media coming out and making these, streaming crocodile tears about how they used to love Joe Rogan, and what a shame, using this example of Joe claiming that he thinks Netanyahu's dead, and Netanyahu's brother's dead potentially as well, whenever he made that claim on one of the shows recently. But anyway, I just thought, once again, we're in this strange, post-reality phase, right, where we have legitimately entered this cartoonish, just again, Lego-themed, state-sponsored war propaganda. Like, that is actually entering a cartoonish phase of post-reality that we never, at least I never personally thought possible in my own lifetime. I never really considered it, but at the same point, it's like, wouldn't you imagine you would want to, at the very least, present yourself to the public in a more professional way? But I mean, we're pushing, just as far as the concept of allowable opinion, into, yes, this very just almost it's a childish version of reality that I think the vast majority of Americans are kind of like eager to accept and embrace. And I find that concerning, considering the circumstances. But
yeah, a lot of people are falling for the slop. I did want to address something I keep seeing in the chat, and maybe I shouldn't even let me bother me, although it's not really that big of a deal. I just saw somebody in the chat, which I guess is apt with the sort of show that we run, kind of like, well, nukes aren't real, nukes aren't real, nukes aren't real. This is an egregore, so none of this matters. Nukes are real. I mean, maybe I'm putting a little bit of words, but I would, once again, to kind of in the same vein as the whole BB thing, I kind of think it almost doesn't fucking matter whether nukes are real or not, because if you assume that nukes aren't real, then let's be real here. The play here is some sort of orchestrated theater to do nukes, whatever that means to you, because they've done this before, and this seems like the game plan that's rolling out in front of us. So even if you're someone who doesn't believe in nukes, Like, it's like you would then I would assume the theory is that they somehow faked it. They just had big explosions. They called it nukes. They got people on with that narrative, and it kind of doesn't matter. It's so either way, they're going to do something that's really bad. Is a big boom. It's a big scary, and it's going to be the big next political thing, the big geopolitical move. So whether that's real or not, it's kind of beside the point. Kind of the same idea that's like whether Bibi's alive or not, it's kind of also beside the point. I mean, sure, I guess if you could prove with both, if you could prove one way or the other, it would kind of matter. But in effect, it doesn't really matter all that much. So, I mean, whether it's big scary nukes or fake and if they're all tricking us, I guess it's preferable, but they're still going to try to trick you all the same, likely. Is my look at it. So
I agree, but I mean, every time I have this conversation with Sam, it's interesting because I completely am open to the idea of, sort of the nuclear reaction in the post-nuclear, essentially after the blast and the consequences of just that, the environment and things of that nature. Although he always points out how Japan just resettled so quickly after the blast took place and seemingly didn't really suffer too many consequences, which is an interesting concept. But I do know the footage of the tests, right, are clearly, some of them are faked and obviously produced. Lookout Mountain Laboratory, I think that in itself is where they filmed the moon landing, in my opinion. So I do think that a lot of what we just kind of have accepted over the course, just as far as recorded history in terms of this technological phase of advancement in military operations, obviously we can agree that they have the capability to create massive explosions that have catastrophic human toll, right, in terms of the casualties. And that alone matters. And I think as long as we can agree that that exists and is a true unfortunate threat, then what does it really matter? As far as, like, once again, we're at that same crossroads of, like, well, we don't have to necessarily agree that nuclear warheads exist, right, and the capability has legitimately been achieved, but we can at the very least agree upon the insane capability of the military operations in terms of the permanent establishment and what they can engage in terms of the human cost in war, and that alone is what matters most. I think should be paramount, and at the end of the day, we can kind of table and couch the details and semantics in terms of that. But I will say, man, what Trump came out and made a statement, mission accomplished. He declares a victory over Iran. The war has
super
been won.
Important to read the fine print, guys. Super duper important. We are in fact not ceasing all hostilities. In fact, what he said is that they were in talks to make a deal, and even then he wasn't even really talking about ceasing hostilities specifically. What he's saying he was going to do, what he was actually doing was saying he was not going to attack the energy facilities, civilian infrastructure, like he said he was going to do. 48 hours prior, he gave a big warning that if they don't open the Strait of Hormuz, that's what he's going to do, but nothing changed. And yet, despite that, he's still on Monday, right before markets open up, ever so conveniently says, I'm going to give it a 5-day break before I actually do this thing I said I was going to do 48 hours ago. The thing motioning like right when markets closed, that thing I did before, that raised the ante. Just saying, it's a little, you gotta read the fine print. In fact, the war is still on. He's just not going to bomb energy infrastructure as he said he was going to do, and give it a little bit of a 5-day break to see what shakes out, because they're totally talking. They're totally in talks, despite the fact every one of the Iranian leadership says they're not in talks, but Trump said they are talking to somebody. But he's not going to say who, because they don't want to get him killed. There were leaks from Axios that said it was some, one of the speakers of their whatever, one of their higher ups over in Iran, who immediately went, "The fuck I did." So it seems like they just be saying shit, and the The weekend wars have begun.
100%, buddy. Here, actually, let me just finish this video so we can get it off the screen. And then
real quick, actually, I do want one little commentary before it escapes my mind. You did mention this is like a worldwide Gladio thing. At first, before they went on about all the different stuff going on around the world, I thought it was particularly interesting. This is reminiscent. I mean, this isn't some great big point I'm making here, but this is reminiscent to me of the stuff that was going on in Australia right before the Bondi Beach stuff popped off that we covered here, where they had bombing of ambulances. Some Jew ambulance got set on fire, and they're, conveniently is a perfect little fucking video of like, look, here it is sort of on fire, and oh, cool, we're going to probably get some insurance money now and attention, and it probably was some sort of welfare scam to begin with. And then, lo and behold, we have some super sketchy attacks. Ask no questions about that. Nothing weird going on there. But now we're seeing this around the world. We're seeing these low-level anti-Semitic hate crimes seemingly bubbling up all at the same time. So it makes me a little bit concerned, especially since at least before we had the consideration of it kind of being localized. So whereas now it's just kind of all over the fucking place. So we can't even really get a feeling on where this is going to pop off at. But I have a feeling something's going to pop off, organic or otherwise. So because both are believable.
Exactly. And especially when it's such a valuable tool in terms of moving this dystopian agenda forward. Anti-Semitism is just the perfect element just the perfect ingredient in the recipe that they're pursuing as far as what they're attempting to implement and really, I think, create a pretext and very much establish the precedent in a way in which they can rely upon moving into the future, and we're seeing it firsthand in a real way. I mean, even the strike that my YouTube received was basically because of the context of what we were discussing, I think, and that applies directly to this in a real way. So it's undeniable at this point. But yeah, I think it's just a few seconds left on this.
The war in the Middle East right now as fuel for these attacks. But Dan, now countries far from the Middle East are being left scrambling, trying to increase security in the Jewish community, trying to thwart these attacks from happening, Diane.
All right, Maggie Rulli for us in London. Thank you.
All right, real quick, I want to address something in the chat. This is another one. I shouldn't be doing this, but I saw it and I wanted this. We've addressed this a few times. This person right here says, why do you link Tim Russell's interview with W with his death? They happened years apart. Kind of misleading. No, he's referring to something in our intro, which I will say I didn't make it, and I'm technologically retarded. I don't even know how to edit it, nor I don't know if I would want to. We've talked about this before because we kind of looked into a lot of those little all the little bits in some of there. I'm pretty sure we've looked into basically every little story in there at some point. And yeah, the Tim Russell one, it is kind of a little bit bullshit. It is a little bit misleading. We didn't know, and we looked into it later and we're like, oh shit, that was like years apart. But whatever. I guess you could say that's our little test for you guys. As I said, don't be retarded. Don't take everything at face value. Whatever. It's a little fun. It teases at the secret society aspect of this stuff. I don't know. Yes, if it was up to me, if I was going to be 100, I would. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a little bit of autism in me that kind of goes, but whatever. I think it outweighs it. It's a fun choice. And whatever, I guess it's a little bit of a quality filter. If you someone in our audience that were like, oh, isn't it crazy the feds totally killed Tim Russell? I'd be like, did they really, though? I mean, maybe they did. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But maybe you should raise the brain cells a little bit. I don't know. But yes, I wonder, whatever. It hits, though. It's what the people want.
Absolutely. And that's the main point, is that it's an amazing intro and it's a great edit. And that's the point. We should continue to use it. But as far as Tim Russell, I do think it's worthwhile in looking up what he was reporting on just before his death as well, because if you've noticed, I mean, there's a theme there in terms of Michael Hastings. Danny Casolaro. There are very many different examples, even just in the edit alone, that you can point to that were clearly journalists who were in a way suicided or martyred for pursuing a story that was not at all meant to ever go public. and once you catch a real and let's just say evidentiary glimpse and have sources that are credible enough to go on the record and blow the lid off of the network itself and reveal it to the public, then your life becomes it's at stake and it's in jeopardy. And I think that's something that is very worthwhile in noticing in terms of that edit. But meanwhile, we are also not only declaring victory over Iran, but we're also roaming free over Tehran, according to Trump, and we can do whatever we want. So I just find the language that they use at this point and the fact that so many people are kind of tuned out to it at this point. It doesn't really resonate as much as it used to, but also the base appreciates it. And it's something they can kind of feel comfortable and safe in knowing that they have this strong man, representing their ideology and their principles. But it's all fake and gay, exactly. And that's something that I think people should finally just remove the naive veil for themselves and recognize the truth of what the system has become. They're asking, the current administration is seeking $200 billion in additional funding, right, for the Iran war, which is just the most ridiculous. I mean, I thought the war was over, right? Trump just declared victory, but at the same time, he seemingly.
And to put that, just to give a frame of reference, people, because it just seems like made up numbers when you're talking about this big money. 200 billion, to put that in context, it's the current Department of War budget is $1 trillion for the year, and that was a huge I say improvement's the wrong word, but huge increase from the previous year, which I want to say was like around 600,000 or 700,000 or something like that, and they're already asking for 1.5 trillion next year. But just to give you a frame of reference, so 200 billion in the past couple weeks or so is essentially what 200 billion is coming from, and that's a few weeks that essentially are comprised of about a fifth of our current yearly rate of the Department of War, and by previous standards, about a third. And keep in mind, we have an incredibly, insanely bloated military. Even before these increases, despite we always get this gay little fucking rhetoric every fucking year from every fucking president about how we got to work on improving our military, and then we have like the largest military bar none. It just there's just even then, but people like have this idea that we have our biggest military that's exponentially larger, so we should be able to just be like a goddamn army of homelanders that can just do whatever the fuck they want. But it's still like even when you have this overwhelming force, it doesn't mean you can, unless you're just willing to throw people in the meat grinder and you just give no fucks whatsoever. You're not gonna be. We're not gonna be able to like take over Carg Island or whatever the fuck. I mean, you can, but there's cost to that. So like, just because you have this overwhelming military, especially in this current paradigm where we have drones and things have become so decentralized, it's like, I mean, hell, you look at the warfare going on. It's all this interceptor missiles versus these Shahhed drones that are like, $10,000 to make or whatever, and then we're dropping, what is it, like 500,000 or some insane shit for the interceptors. So it's like, the math doesn't math. Just like, just because you have an overwhelming force, it doesn't mean you can just whip your dick around and get whatever the fuck you want. Yeah. So I don't sorry. It's just insane. No, it's insane when you put all this stuff in a. You give it a reference point for all. You're like,
and it's hard to quantify these numbers when, honestly, just as far as the average budget of just as far as the general public in America, it's once again very hard to conceptualize, I think, and that alone loses the effect in a way, right? As far as just the statistics and the numbers and the data that's presented to the public, it almost, you see their eyes glaze over in a real way. And that's just become public sentiment just in terms of politics, essentially. And they're either fully entrenched in their ideological, bipartisan view, or they just aren't engaging whatsoever and essentially letting it just fly by in the overwhelming news cycle of the week. So there's basically no public support for this conflict at the very same time, as much as it sounds like doom and gloom in terms of just the intellect of the average American. There's definitely no interest in the deployment of U.S. ground troops in the region, right? But yet, that is precisely what Trump seems to be presenting as the only option to bring an end to the war, while he's simultaneously declaring a victory. It's a very strange dynamic to watch play out, but it's hard not to notice that whenever you have, I think I saw like there was a poll, which it's hard to believe the poll data, obviously, but this is a Reuters report, which claimed on March 19th, 65% of Americans believe U.S. President Donald Trump will order troops into a large-scale ground war in Iran, but only 7% support the idea. And this is according to a Reuters IPSOS poll that closed on Thursday, March 19th. So the 3-day poll showed Trump's broader standing with the public holding largely unchanged at 40%, up 1 percentage point from a Reuters poll carried out in hours after the U.S.-Israel attacked Iran on February 28th. So this was like a poll that gathered up to 1,500 plus U.S. adults nationwide, had a margin of error of about 3 percentage points, so give or take. But anyway, I thought it was interesting and worthwhile in pointing out the fact that there's absolutely no public support, and I appreciate that much, and I think all of us should. And I think antiwar.com even ran an article basically saying, it was Kyle Anzalone, the very same day actually that Reuters report came out. And he basically says the majority of Americans believe war against Iran benefits Israel more than the U.S. And then goes into 56% of voters said the war benefits Israel more. Only 29% said the conflict benefited the U.S. more. So yeah, again, it's convenient cannon fodder for the ideological two-party paradigm, right? This spectrum that's being further entrenched in an unfortunate way, where it's convenient for the left to obviously be dissenting voices in terms of this conflict. I'm talking about the voter, right? Just as far as like the voter base of the Democratic Party in a way, right? Who's still very much engaging in the system. I think this helps them become further entrenched and re-engage in a real way in the systematic structure of voting in general, and that is always the way in which the pendulum swings, and I find that to be problematic. But what are we to do with that? With that, honestly. But anyway, so Trump's sending, obviously, he's authorized ground troops essentially to send to the region, and we have thousands more that are heading over there, and once again, it's just not even really being discussed, other than the kind of usual suspects, as far as people who already are completely adverse or against and opposed to the conflict at large. They are very much vocal in the current moment, but other than that, no public sentiment is being swayed either way at this point, and I do find that unfortunate as well, because meanwhile you have a cigarette burns and an infant toddler being tortured in Gaza by the IDF. Basically, what cigarette burns and nail wounds in this toddler to allegedly coerce the father. I looked into this just briefly, and you have a 1-year-old child tortured in Al-Maghazi to pressure the detained father during interrogation. Israeli occupation soldiers subjected this 1-year-old child to torture in central Gaza to force his father into making confessions. And basically, the child is identified as Karim Abu Nassar, he was detained near the Al-Maghazi refugee camp after his father, Osama Abu Nassar, was caught in gunfire while attempting to buy supplies. So the fact that it was like 10 hours before they released this child and handed him over to his family, And so apparently throughout that process, you had them go, I mean, stoop to an insane, just, I mean, obviously this is happening so very often that this is just one great example we can spotlight and hopefully make people a little bit more aware of the level of just human rights violations all throughout Gaza. But not only that, you think this won't extend to Lebanon, to all these various regional conflicts? Yeah.
Lebanon, Syria.
Mhm.
They're attacking, which is the Syrian stuff is wild because they were, the HTS, the essentially the Al Qaeda group that's running that nation, had right at the kind of the start had signaled. So I obviously don't know specifically what they meant by it, but they signaled essentially some level of solidarity and being against Hezbollah and Lebanon. And then there was these reports, so kind of shortly after that, I think the U.S. was apparently rumored to be pressuring Syria behind the curtain to kind of like get them involved to help Israel. And the reports were that they weren't really having it. Obviously, I do think to some degree they a little bit are of a puppet regime of us and Israel, but I really do think it was more just like the facts on the ground. They were probably just like, yeah, we just kind of came in power. I don't really want to be seen as working with Israel to oust Hezbollah. It's probably not the greatest move right now. And then shortly after that, which you'd think that'd be a respectable decision. Okay, whatever, fair enough. You won't get involved in our war. But that's not how it works with Israel. They've been attacking Syria now. They haven't said actually they have said the reasoning. They're blaming on some shit from like weeks or from like months ago, I think. The whole weird minority. I don't know if you were paying attention to this stuff, the Druze stuff that was going on in Syria a while ago. So they're blaming it on this weird minority, which, don't get me wrong, that's fair enough. But I mean, not fair enough in the sense of what they're doing as a result of it. But they do have a gripe in some of the minority violence that was going on there. Some of the there was weird ethnic groups butting up against each other, particularly even some of the HTS people, which I guess there's a lot of ISIS mixed in there because they've kind of just picked up mercenaries. But anyways, things have gone out of hand. So now they're attacking Syria. They're attacking the Syria, which they don't care. I mean, whether they're puppets or whether they're a further destabilized region, it doesn't matter to them. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, we have Lebanon. They initially said this is the game they play every time. They go, oh, we need a buffer zone, so they take over this buffer zone, and now they've kicked people out of like anywhere south of the Litany River, I believe. And they said you got to evacuate, and then we'll let people back once we feel safe. Of course, they never feel safe, and then now they're bombing bridges, and you have. I don't know if it was Bezalel. I want to say it was Katz. I think it was Israel Katz. That one of those three main ministers or whatever that was proudly proclaiming that they should annex it. So they're calling for annexation. So they kind of signal everything as they go on. So what'll happen is you'll have one of the ministers, one of the members of the cabinet, calling, overtly for things like displacement of the people, flat out genocide. Just things like war crimes, and then what'll happen is when anyone of like that's not them actually like well, that would be against the rules, and the next thing you know they're doing it.
Exactly. So. And that's Netanyahu did just as much as far as I think what did he claim that Iran was basically just unrepentantly striking these civilian sites and targets and basically really accusing Iran and the regime of being guilty of what the Israeli regime currently is guilty of. And you see, as far as the Lebanon conflict that you had referenced, I saw a recent report from Jason Ditz, right? And it was ran at antiwar.com as well. And it basically addresses the humanitarian crisis increasingly becoming disastrous as war continues to escalate. Lebanon death toll passes 1,000, according to Amnesty International, allegedly they made well, not allegedly, they made a public statement and published a report claiming and saying Israel needs and must stop attacking hospitals, basically. And the claim was, since Israel started its new war against Lebanon at the beginning of the month, over 1,000 people have been killed. The formal numbers from the Lebanese health ministry say that it includes 79 women, 118 children, and at least 40 healthcare workers. So, man, this is the cost of war. This is something that stands the test of time. And in no way should you find yourself on the end of facilitating a conflict such as this and ever justifying it in any real way, especially in ethical terms. I mean, you need to have a come to Jesus moment and reflect on who you've become and allowed yourself to become, because you should see for yourself firsthand what the cost of war truly is, witness the civilian casualties, and then come back with a legitimate argument and face yourself in the mirror. But I won't hold my breath, and as far as that's concerned, and I don't think any of us should. But hey, I will say, thank God for the amount of people that are waking up in this moment and that are seeing, the light in terms of in this moment of darkness. They're gravitating toward the light and they're finding out the unfortunate reality we face. That threat, it's become vital for us to acknowledge it and address it for what it is, but in honest terms. It's something that we can't have this Hollywood version of, again, the cartoonish phase of reality. We can't have that. We can't allow it to blur our vision, right? When it matters most. And what's on the line in this moment? I mean, this is the future of all mankind. Honestly, it really is, as much as that's the most dramatic terminology I could use. It feels that way. We're at an ethical crossroads. You have to, again, come to terms with the threats truly being posed to society at large. And until that moment comes, good luck, right? That's all I have to say. So I feel sorry for you. I wish you would have done a little more work on your end before this moment came. But it's not our place. It's not our role. We can be here for the moment in which they become open-minded and objective enough to consider these alternative, views. But man, we can't do the work for them. We can't bridge that gap on their behalf. It's something that you have to genuinely, kind of follow that path on your own. And I'm holding out hope. Obviously, this is in no way a black pill. I just see, the daily consequences of what is happening on our taxpayer dollars. That's what really rocks me to my core, is that I effectively am complicit, right? All of us. And that's a real problem for me as someone who wants to opt out desperately. I mean, my God, morally, it's hard to cope with, right? But anyway, I'll stop off my soapbox in terms of that. But
thankfully, Austin, though, I mean, during these dour times, we're given heroes to rally the people. We've got, hell, you'd almost think he was like a comic book character with a name like Kent. We had Joe Kent enter the scene, reminding us, as everyone's out here heard during Iran bad, that perhaps you need to find deep down in your heart that also, and not even also, like the priority, like you can't be having. It's hard to have herder Iran in your heart when you have a herder China bad in your heart. These are two things that can't really sustain, enter into the equation at the same time. We're simple people. I mean, you got to have a very simple praxis. If you're trying to say, hey, herder bad, and you need to have herder one major thing bad. You can't have two So I mean, it looks. I mean, I guess I'm being a little bit silly, but a little bit facetious here. But I did watch the. I had to check it out. I mean, I had my thoughts. Let's be real. I was completely 100% correct. The first 20 minutes of the Tucker Carlson interview is literally, you know, I just right now we need to really be focusing on herder China bad, and we got all this herder Iran bad going on. So. You know, we got to get back on. So there's nothing about this is really all that principled. There really is. We need to be focusing on the next fight. This vague thing. It's funny too. They even give this like sort of. They do this thing where like, well, China's winning because you know they're engaging, like they're the deal makers, like they're the ones who get to be there, be the rational. And you know, let's be real. Like the angling here is they're angling for some sort of economic warfare, some sort of light level warfare, maybe even more in the future. They're just playing these weird great power games, and they're focused on China, as opposed to like breaking the paradigm and just not being like just don't be shitty. This whole like we got to be angling to fight China. I personally find it particularly ridiculous. But I don't know. I just kind of want, I guess, get your thoughts on that. I guess a little bit. Obviously, let's be real. You have the same perspective I do, but I found it hilarious. It literally like the first 20 minutes really are just that. Which you know, to be fair, I mean, this is I guess if I'm gonna make, I'm kind of implying perhaps is a limited hangout of some sort. Yes. Like I think this is a W. Like to be very clear, I think this is a W. But I also. I guess maybe a little bit of stick in the mud. Everybody wants to have this fun. Oh my God, the hero moment. And perhaps obviously I don't know exactly, but I think it was probably a little bit more of a analytical situation if I had to. And let's be real, he probably actually believes these things. Perhaps, like he probably to some degree believes it.
He definitely knows it's popular opinion at this moment, and I think as far as public perception is concerned, now. That's the way I look at some of these personalities, especially the Tuckers of the world and Candace Owens, and I mean not as much of Mike Flynn in the influencer context because clearly he has such an interesting military background, but still he's being utilized in that way. These are controlled opposition assets, in my opinion, that they land on separate sides of the political spectrum that is being exploited and leveraged against us and the individuals who still engage in it in this way. And I think they lend each other credibility through the influencer wars that they engage in, right? And these public, because the point being is you realize the opportunity. If you're the permanent establishment, the they in quotations, right, that we all refer to so often, and you want to control the outcome, why would you not litter the avenues of opportunity at all times to essentially lend credibility to certain controlled opposition assets in these fields of influence? What do we refer to it as? The influencer industrial complex for a reason. And that's what I view this specifically kind of falling into or under that umbrella, because instantly what I just saw happen is because again, this is kind of how you rein in the individuals who are fleeing from the propaganda. You can kind of control the outcome and rein them back into the establishment narrative by providing them the hero, right, in the moment of crisis. And that's exactly what I think. It's a moral crisis that they're exploiting. And so you see Kash Patel's PragerU affiliated girlfriend, who couldn't be more of a Mossad asset, coming out and claiming that her name's Alexis Wilkins, right? That's her name. She alleges that Mike Flynn, Tucker Carlson, Joe Kent, and Candace Owens are all linked to a foreign influence operation. She also claims she is the victim of a foreign linked influence network that has coordinated operations against her and insinuates it is not Israel. And that was obviously
it's a whole 13 tweet thread, by the way, which I don't understand why. For one, she has a blue check, so I don't understand why she did it in that way. Because you can just make it one big threat, but whatever. That aside, no, it's just me being weirdly nerdy about it. But Yeah, she did a 13 tweet thread on it for some fucking reason. So I have it bookmarked. I'll probably cover it for the morning show tomorrow because how do I not? But yeah, I'm not going to bore you guys with digging onto all that right now. But yeah, she looks like she's making some pretty. And to be fair, some of the people she's implying are some sort of contrived op of some sort. She's, I think, correct. But it's like I actually but right before we started, I quote tweeted it with the tried and true Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other. But it's like, yeah, I think she's correct. But it's like also like the pot calling the kettle black.
Right, exactly. And I think that's exactly what the point is in terms of
like the CIA calling Chabad Mossad essentially. But sorry, go on.
What is the number one tool of a controlled asset or a controlled opposition asset is a limited hangout, right? And so essentially all you have to do is pit yourself against the other controlled asset on the opposite side of the political spectrum, who represents the opposing narrative, and you win on both sides in terms of just again consolidating the influence of the groups of people this will obviously affect and I think impact, and just as far as their opinions in this context. And so I see Josh Hammer, right? We were talking about it privately, and he basically comes out on the warpath against Joe Kent specifically, saying he should be immediately arrested and that he was leaking information. But obviously Josh Hammer provides no evidence of this, but he claims that he even put it in context saying that Joe Kent should have been trying to find Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and the Muslim Brotherhood, but not Israel. And then he goes on to accuse Tulsi Gabbard, right, of running a shadow operation that he views as anti-Semitic. And these are anonymous sources, of course, that provided him this information. But he says Tulsi Gabbard is directly involved in an anti-Semitic influencer operation. Boom. The language that they use hangs them by their own petard in a way, right? Like, honestly, it's something that I think more people should pay attention to. Pattern recognition matters. Understanding the language for what it is. I'm sorry, but
it also, to the controlled op, it almost looks like they're reestablishing their controlled op, or they're trying to as well. They're like rebuilding it back up. Because trying to sell Tulsi as some sort of shadow, like, okay, all right, sure. Yeah, the one who's cucked out completely, and all the reports, all the rumors behind the scenes is she has no influence whatsoever. But yeah, she's running a fucking shadow op. But like to them, she's effective for having this view as like being the principled one. So if you are 11 of the world selling this cope as like, oh, she's doing that kind of keeps some of the panicans on board incidentally. So I mean, not saying he's this intelligent, he seems pretty stupid, but who knows? I mean, either way, it effectively works for that.
Exactly. But, and it rehabs her image in a real way. And honestly, as far as people who are more low frequency and just as far as their interpretation is concerned in just the overall news cycle, it will impact them in a real way and probably affect them in their opinions and in a negative context as far as the systematic agenda. So that's the main issue I have. These people want to have no more heroes is the sentiment, I think, as much as I think that was once upon a time Andy Malafarena's name of his podcast. I think he changed the name, but it used to be No More Heroes. And I always found that to be just very poignant in our current phase of reality, because they want you to be in that vulnerable position where you are psychologically waiting at all times, primed and ready for another hero to land on the political spectrum, for you to set on their pedestal and defend and justify their actions without any sort of moral clarity and principled just foundation, and the cycle repeats. So but yeah,
I mean, Joe Kent, he's beyond reproach. I mean, do you see the heroic thing he pulled here, leaving it? I mean, don't you know he's prior military? I mean, his wife died in, his wife died. I mean, you never hear them saying that. Like, yeah, ISIS killed her, which it's like, to be fair, like, people always say that. And it's like, I have no idea the context. This motherfucker was like, I don't know if this happened when he was CIA or when he was a Green Beret, but either way, I mean, we don't know what shadow games are going. I mean, especially if you know the conspiracy surrounding ISIS. Like, I don't know, like what it particularly is going on here, but this seems like some Tealite, like the CIA or Teal's CIA versus like Chabad's Mossad, which to some degree I think there is truth in a little bit of this narrative battle occurring, but it's like some degree sanitized, and that it's like, but it's also like a little bit of this like. As above, so below, a little bit of like, fake binaries coming at play. While there also is some truth to the binary, like for example, like to this idea of I've gone to with like, I do think there is a genuine foreign policy schism with these parties here. I think one of them wants to not get mired in the Middle East and wants to focus on the next big great power coming up, China. I think that's like generally speaking your vaguely CIA guys, the Teals, the Tuckers, the Kins,
is what you're saying.
And then you have on the flip side, you got like the Chabad, the Mossad, whatever, the Levins, the Grahams. They're all in on the Middle East. Like that's what they wanted to get done. So I do think, in like, obviously in a certain sense, I prefer the CIA guys here. But I'm still going to point out they're CIA, because at least it is like a delaying the shitty thing to later. Like they want to do some shitty China stuff later. Right. Whatever. I'm just aware there's going to be shitty China stuff in the future. I don't have to give my full-throated endorsement of these guys to say that like, hey, they're right on this thing. But this is like people are incapable of walking and chewing gum. It seems like they're incapable of being like, yeah, that's cool. That's cool that what Kent's doing. How that's shaking out for current things. That doesn't necessarily mean he's some crazy hero, and we don't necessarily need to give him any sort of crazy, because let's be real, he's going to run for something in the future. He's going to do something. They're going to launder his reputation for something, so like it's not like he's a non-entity. There's not like and this is like the same idea when people are like, oh my God, Elon Musk is bringing back free speech. He didn't have to do this. He's really helping us all here. Like, it's like, are you really incapable of understanding how this in any way benefits them? This like huge billionaire guy that has like wide control of many markets, like how it would make sense for him to take over a social media app. I know it's not that crazy. I mean, is it really that crazy for a political individual that, made a point for him to being like a somewhat sort of vaguely against the terror wars or whatever because he experienced it? That's part of his story. Is it really that crazy to think for a political figure that has legs for decades to come that perhaps they would go, oh, I don't want to make myself no longer a viable political candidate going forward? Is it really that crazy? And especially in a situation where it's like, I don't know, if you read the tea leaves, it's like, this is definitely a W for the future. And and a lot of people are saying like he could end up dealing with some negative consequences from the establishment. And I actually think he probably will. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised, because I think he's already been reports that he's being indicted or something. I don't know what's going to come of that. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if he does get dragged through some sort of court, something or other. We're going to keep this mantra going of what a hero, look at what he's going through for the nation. And I think it'll probably quietly, when people aren't really paying attention, it'll just kind of just blow over into nothing. Charges get dropped or whatever.
Because it will only help to further bolster his reputation, which is the ultimate goal in the first place. And that's, I mean, you tie that in with that Axios article that we covered last week, that what was the headline? Anti-war anti-Semitism is still anti-Semitism, and it was specifically in context regarding Joe Kent, and it was cautioning the Democrats to distance themselves and stay away from Joe Kent as a political operative, as an asset of some kind that they could use going forward. And I thought, very strange thing to do, just as far as a mainstream publication to publish an article that seemed to be very political in nature, and addressing specifically the establishment politicians and puppets that exist and as public representatives. But anyway, found it interesting. Right.
Jacob, you got something for us? Are we got a call? We haven't even opened the phone lines yet. So I don't know what's holding it up, but what's up?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's up?
What's up, buddy?
My entire system is not very happy because I had to do too many things. So I'm actually on my phone right now, loading the postmortem. So
Okay.
So is it we do not have a postmortem right now? Is that what you're telling us?
I can play the Lego themed.
I swear, if I don't play this postmortem after everything I've just been through in the background, I might just pull my hair out.
Okay, well, I'm going to take a moment to address one more thing in the chat, because someone did ask a question for us. We'll answer it pretty slowly to give you the chance to set something up. So I don't know if you can set up in the next couple minutes, but I do have, where is he? I saw this earlier and I thought we'd address it. This must be a newer person's show. Someone asking, how does one contact you guys? At work right now, so I can't, but I am interested. And now there is a range of options. This is a call-in show. Typically, we try to get the phone lines going in the first half, but as you heard, our producer was dealing with some issues, I guess. So maybe we'll have phones open in the second half. Now, that is the non-paying option. You can call in every episode. We do, like I said, we try to get them up and running as soon as possible pretty early on. So you can call in. Obviously, you can be limited audio, and it's going to be a phone line. So it's a little bit nostalgic, but it is a little bit harder to hear. But now, if you're a patron of me or Austin, you don't have to pay for us both, but you should. If you support either me or Austin, we do every week. We drop links to make it just as if you were like a guest, like me or Austin are right now. You can be a talking head on the screen. You can come up for the second half of the show. We save the second half of the show as we're getting ready to go into. I'm kind of going slow right now to give Jacob time to set up the intermission. But after intermission, we usually bring on patrons to come on and ask questions, field calls, shoot the shit, that sort of thing. So now, if you want to try to contact us like personally, I'm on Twitter at TowerGangJose. My email is thelibertymovementglobal@gmail.com. I know it's an awful email. It's from an old project. I just didn't care to change it. So that's how you can contact us. I mean, if you're trying to be part of the show, though, like I said, you can do the call-in option for non-paying, or you can hop on a video call, just like me and Austin are right now. And that's, for me, that's $2 a month. I think for Austin, I think your lowest level is like $3. I mean, pretty low either way. You also get the added exclusive paywalled show with Brad Binkley, Austin, and Sam Tripoli. So if you you get a little extra oomph for that extra dollar. So I do not have a perk like that. so that's what you get for that extra dollar. But $5 to make you holler. So you just pay both of us. Like I said, you don't have to pay both of us, but you can hop on. As we're getting ready to bring on some people here in a moment, probably to shoot the bull. But yeah, that's how you get a hold of us. Austin, where can they get a hold of you? I guess aside from the show options I listed.
Definitely follow me on Twitter at Theater Thug AWP, spelled theater THEATRE, and then also obviously subscribe to the Underclass podcast on YouTube, Rumble, and Patreon. If you can afford it, obviously on Patreon would be ideal, but I think I'm definitely working through my next solo project, so that'll be very interesting. But William sent me on a tangent, just remembering all of the dark and disgusting and disturbing details that were involved in the Hosanna Church scandal case, because he had tweeted me about it and basically encouraged me to finally compose a tweet just in regard to that case specifically, because it always did. It haunts me to this day, obviously, and just knowing the details of it is something that I think is pressing, and far too many people are unaware of that case just in general, and I find that to be interesting. But what is at least relevant to the show is Project Esther, which we talked about privately, right? Which was essentially, it's this anti-Semitism task force and the systematic entrenchment of this, just as far as utilizing anti-Semitism as a justification, it's really coming full circle and revealing itself in the U.S. in domestic policy in a real way, and that kind of reveals itself in this latest example of a Michigan sheriff by the name of Mike Bouchard, who basically ordered the arrest of what he referred to as an anti-Semitic American for trying to threaten and intimidate him by posting a meme, is how it's kind of went viral. Now, there's additional context, and I think obviously the details matter in this case, but still, this is the slippery slope of the dystopian pretext, which we reference so very often, and that's the major point I'm attempting to make. And when you see, honestly, the clip is so funny because the alleged meme that upset this sheriff is it's a Jew meme, basically, right? But again, you have he's claiming that the First Amendment makes people, quote, feel empowered, emboldened, and safe. So basically the point he's making is he needed to teach the public a lesson by using this as a precedent, and that alone is worthwhile in mentioning, and I'll get into the details after we watch this brief clip, if you're cool with that, before we go to intermission.
Sure.
Yeah, I just think it's so funny, honestly, as dystopian as it is.
I give you this by way of example. Some pond scum
so good.
felt empowered and emboldened enough to put this picture of me up to try to threaten and intimidate me, which of course he didn't do because I signed up for this.
Poor sheriff.
And by the way, the person that did this said a bunch of terrible things, not just against me, but against a lot of groups and individuals, who, by the way, was arrested today in Wisconsin. My point is this, though. If this person is emboldened and empowered enough or feels safe enough to do this for me, what does he do to a kid? What does he do to a Jewish family walking down?
That alone, right? Like, what are you doing here? Well, the
makes me look like a Jew. I bet you he fucks kids.
Absolutely. But to bring it up in that context, as far as using this ridiculous just example and obviously flawed, in my opinion, it's hilarious and disgusting and grotesque, honestly, as far as morally speaking. But anyway,
down the street. And that's because of the normalization of this, watching this on television and saying, okay, I feel empowered enough that I can do this. Well, A, you can't. And B, if you think you can do it to somebody that's in law enforcement, again, what are you going to do in an alley or in a street to a Jewish family or a kid walking down the street? We say no. We're drawing the line.
Okay, obviously a false equivalency, in my opinion, in terms of that example that he's trying to equate it with, which that, again, I see this, and I'll explain the details briefly in just a moment, but I thought right after I witnessed this just overt display of utilizing this justification, which we harp on every week, I see a report from the CBC, which I know is a rag and very much propaganda, but have done a few different interesting reports that I do find valuable for my own right. And I saw this strange report of Canadian Jews faking anti-Semitic attacks, right? And it says a Jewish family staged 4 fake hate crimes on their restaurant. They were charged by police, waited until the court date was set, and then fled straight to Israel and disappeared. So obviously they never faced justice or any sort of accountability for their actions whatsoever, which seems to be the prevailing kind of outcome. And as far as the vast majority of some of these Jewish Americans and I guess Canadian Americans, I would imagine this applies internationally, right? As far as the ability and avenue that's open and available to any sort of a Jewish citizen who would need to seek some sort of refuge from any kind of criminal pursuit or action following them. They can just kind of hide out in Israel, and that being available and to them is just in itself. It just, people should be aware of the fact that apparently this does apply, and that there is an avenue to escape accountability and justice, and that is a real problem. and in no way not anything new, right? But this Michigan sheriff, he reported receiving a threatening edited photo, which we saw, that included anti-Semitic symbols. It's the Star of David, leading to the arrest of a suspect. The sheriff emphasized the growing normalization of anti-Semitism and the need for community action against such behavior. And again, it's something that I found interesting because Bouchard reported a significant rise in anti-Semitic incidents, and he specifically noted a 344% increase in targeted reported incidents against Jewish individuals and communities between 2020 and 2024. And then claims this alarming trend underscores the urgency of addressing anti-Semitism in society. And so they want to become vigilant in supporting Jewish communities and action to combat hate and intimidation. And yeah, so again, it's like if you look into this a little bit and scratch the surface, it's not so simple. It's not as black and white. And unfortunately, this individual who was arrested in Wisconsin definitely is not someone to in any way put on a platform or not platform, but put on a pedestal, morally speaking. He's not someone that you would want to align with, in my opinion, looking through the details. Just because you might agree on certain sentiments regarding their political views doesn't necessarily mean that they are morally centered, right? And as far as the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, they felt the need to kind of, I don't know, almost kind of, it's really strange the way in which they decided to make this public statement, because it feels like they're kind of provoking the public. It's weird, right? You would think in a police department wouldn't, well, not from the context and the examples that we have focused on, which obviously prove that they would rather escalate than de-escalate more often than not. But they report on this, trying to push back on the alleged anti-Semitic American arrest. So the Oakland County Sheriff's Office tweeted, "For people that are whining that someone was arrested for posting a meme, sorry to disappoint. Not even for threatening, racist, and anti-Semitic comments. He had a prior outstanding felony stalking warrant on something completely unrelated, which drew local police attention to him when someone complained in Wisconsin, basically." And so I looked in just a little bit further, and I'll finish with this point, and that's just basically that he was essentially posting anti-Semitic death threats against state officials on Twitter, is what they're complaining about. And he's doing court, Michigan man, after allegedly being responsible for this. And the Detroit News first reported the case on Wednesday, and basically the FBI arrested James Eugene Carpenter III. And this was last month, citing a specific threat to kill, quote, anyone that is Jewish in the Michigan government, including the state attorney general. So apparently he went a little bit further than, yeah, I don't know. I personally would appreciate, but so the agency said the message was posted February 17th, while Carpenter was convicted in Texas. He is charged with making threatening interstate communications. If convicted, he could face up to 5 years in prison. So we have, apparently he has additional arrest warrants due to the stalking charge and things of that nature. So he's not quite the stand-up individual that some of these viral posts are clearly missing the point because it's convenient, right? And that's what I find to be problematic, is that we have to be objective. It doesn't, you can't just have things neatly confirm your bias at every turn, just as far as the news cycle is concerned. And so that's something that I would just try and, caution anyone to try and uphold that standard for themselves, because it's easy to fall into that trap, and we have to rise above that ideological paradigm and the ideological prison and subversion that Yuri Bezmenov warned us of. It's real, and the effect is happening in real time. So anyway.
All right. By the way, Jacob was trying to pop in. He was just going to tell us that I guess he's still having issues, so I think we're just going to go with no intermission today. So the rare sticklers of you guys who don't like screamo music and complain about it in the chat, you will not be exposed to that this week. Next week you will. So there is one more little topic I did want to talk to you about, and then I figured maybe we bring in one of our patrons and then roll out of here. Maybe do another 20, 30 minutes or so and get out. But we, God, I totally just had a weird brain fart. Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, we mentioned before, the Rothschild raid. So,
yes.
yeah, there apparently, I did not know anything about this. There was a Rothschild raid. But yeah, I figured we shoot the bull about that a little bit, and I think Rage Child wants to join us, so maybe we'll get a little bit of drunk antics before we leave for the day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I saw we had, who was it? D's Laughs. I think he said he might want to join at one point.
Oh yeah,
but I don't know.
Okay, cool. Well, if he did, sound off in the private chat if so, and we'll bring you on. I didn't see that earlier. I was asking, but yeah.
Man, the only final point to kind of dovetail in with the anti-Semitism context that we've been discussing, and then I'll obviously pivot to the Rothschild raid, was the Laura Loomer post that I had talked to you about privately, right? Where she essentially claims that, and she clearly represents the Mossad, and I mean, these individuals are controlled opposition, and she comes out and says that it's the podcaster's fault, right? And they're sowing discord for foreign nations in America. She claims there will be a massive Islamic terror attack in America, and the perpetrators will likely have financial ties to podcasters and those who are sowing discord for foreign nations in the United States. I predict there will be many casualties, and only then will it maybe set in that people have been conned into supporting a terrorist psyop to distract you from the threat of Islam, while the enemy plotted to destroy our country from within with botted conspiracy theories. It will likely be 10 times worse than 9/11, and it's going to trace right back to the woke Reich in some way. I just have this sense. So, if you are to take any of these individuals seriously, for at least maybe, you were just alluding to the fact that you think, a very impactful, large, sort of aggressive military strike could be in the cards, right? It could be on the table, and they could be considering going forward with this type of action, if only to manufacture consent. I feel like it's the best way to manufacture consent for a conflict that has no public support, because no one supported the invasion of Iraq and the terror wars until 9/11 happened. I mean, that was very much what did the Project for a New American Century refer to it as? I mean, we need a new 9/11, right? They were desperate for public sentiment to take a vicious and aggressive change into a direction where they would be on board for some sort of international conflict at large. And that's what I see them, they recycle their playbook too often. And this is what ends up exposing them. And, I'm appreciative of that much. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. And the Rothschild raid is definitely something that I feel like is important to touch on. Apparently, the Rothschild Bank was searched in Paris on Friday, all right, as part of Epstein's investigation. The raid occurred at Edmond de Rothschild's headquarters with CEO Ariane de Rothschild present. This is the very same female, this Ariane de Rothschild. This individual was legitimately corresponding with Epstein in the emails and the files that we saw personally. I even specifically referenced her in the context of, well, not only was she relevant in the human hunting parties, right? As far as, like, I forget who she had referred to, establishing in terms, basically.
Yeah, there were a couple weird emails where it was
very
something
strange,
weird
right?
about hunting. I mean, obviously we don't know, could have been some other, but I mean, given what we know.
And not only that, I mean, exactly. But I mean, she basically she's the individual who was responsible for the correspondence in regard to the Epstein genealogy, right? And the Rothschilds and the Epsteins essentially financing Hitler whenever, or at least that he was destitute in Vienna. They financed the home that he was staying in allegedly at the time for a brief period. So that I found to be very much worthwhile because just considering the hidden genealogy of one Jeffrey Epstein, again, this is no rags to riches story. This man did not come from nothing. He was handed the keys to an enterprise. And I think this was a long-lasting Roy Cohn's sexual blackmail operation stemming out of the kosher mob. And if you're wondering why the kosher mafia seems to have a significant influence in the current moment, then yeah, maybe take a second and reflect on that and then apply it to the power paradigm at large. But it goes further than this. There's additional reporting. The Rothschild raid, apparently French prosecutors said diplomat Fabrice Aden transferred UN Security Council briefings to Jeffrey Epstein. So this is basically almost, in a way, it's kind of confirming and at the very least almost reinforcing the Prince Andrew allegations of him sharing vital intelligence illegally to Jeffrey Epstein in this investigation as well. And so not only that, Epstein apparently had access to far more classified intelligence and international intelligence as well than we probably would have thought possible. But it seems to be a lot more about state secrets than about sexual blackmail at this point. And I'm starting to wonder, how much more influence he truly did have, right? Other than people want, and I'm not at all in a way kind of just, I don't know, not prioritizing the sexual blackmail and the abuse that exists. Obviously, I'm not undermining the importance of that as a priority of focus. But I will say, I mean, there's no way that we can imagine a world where Jeffrey Epstein wasn't far more influential and pivotal as a player in DC and internationally in that context. Then yeah, it's
the Rothschilds were paying that guy $25 million for something. So.
Right, exactly, and that's what I find very concerning is that essentially, yeah, we're at a moment where we can draw the direct connections to Thomas Pritzker going on the Boys and Toys by General Petraeus, offering him two military helicopters to go play with these Afghan boys. I mean, you have that, and then you tie that in directly with Prince Andrew essentially offering the illegal intelligence to Epstein on the potential for financially benefiting from the Afghan reconstruction project. It's too much to set aside as if this doesn't completely align and provide us with another kind of avenue into the amount of influence Jeffrey Epstein was able to wield. But anyway, that's pretty much the as of now kind of the update on this ongoing Epstein investigation in the UK, because it might come to, I'm not saying that anyone of any real significance will be held accountable for the right reasons, but we might legitimately gain a credible window into future evidence that helps reinforce so much of what we already believe in terms of this network at large. So
yep, death by 1,000 cuts for those who are actually paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead and bring some patrons in here. Let's bring on Deez and Rage, and then we'll probably kill it for the day.
I'm gonna take a piss real quick, actually. I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's go ahead and I guess we'll get Deez in here. And what's up, Deez? How you doing?
What's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good. What's up, man? Pleasure to have you on the show. I think it's the first time I've seen you back there, so it's cool.
First time caller, first time listener. No, but yeah, just calling from Toronto, man. Just wanted to say what's up. Big fan of both of you guys. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Oh, you're up there in Canada. You got any?
51st, the 51st.
Yeah, 51st state, America's top hat. Trump's going to take it over for us here soon. That's going to be the next place we invade after Cuba.
I'm waiting.
What do you got for us, Deez? You got any thoughts on today? Any questions? Anything in particular you want to talk about before we bring Rage in for his hijinks?
Yeah, just quickly. I just wanted to say thank you guys for the content. I've been making music. That's kind of what I do up here. Make little rap songs and stuff. I met Brad Binkley last year in Tennessee. Yeah. So just making music for the conspiracy people out here. And you guys have given me like great content. So
hell yeah, you got like a plug or anything? I mean, how's that working? I mean, I don't know if you want to plug that or.
Well, I basically got an album coming out next month. Yeah, Bread and Circus. It'll be on YouTube and Spotify and all that stuff. So just wanted to say thanks again, man, for everything. But question: what do you think about Epstein and Bitcoin? You think he's the one who created that, or
I know that was Nakamoto?
Yeah,
he definitely helped fund the core development of Bitcoin, and that alone is I think cause for concern as far as that is. I believe that Satoshi Nakamoto was a construct in general. As far as I think the translation alone is very, very strange and should definitely raise red flags for people who are even under the impression that Bitcoin is some sort of avenue for detaching from the financial system. Like obviously it's the future for central based digital currency and just as far as the central bank, I mean, and so I do believe that there are cryptocurrencies out there like a Monero, that exists. That's more of a pirate cryptocurrency that does try and offer a solution but still, the problem I have is that you're always going to be fundamentally on the grid. So you're relying upon, a major, what did Klaus Schwab warn, right? The next, essentially, what was it? A catastrophic blackout would occur, essentially, right? That was a targeted sort of grid down scenario, right, where they would then usher in this dystopian new age internet system that would essentially have it would make sure that basically the infrastructure was in place of the new internet for you to be rendered unable to remain anonymous, and you would have to basically provide your ID and a legitimate government issued identification to even have an online footprint. And that's what I'm concerned with. So I don't know how much you could ever rely on digital currency is the point I'm making, right? So I believe Epstein certainly had some sort of, role to play as far as the establishment and attempted entrenchment of the new age digital currency
Tether as well, maybe, or
do what?
You said definitely Tether, maybe, or another maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely alternatives that are out there that people have to make sure they're not on the, Ethereum based and all these various, it's a different, it's an entire culture that you have to become kind of, just far too bogged down and just kind of, I forget the term I was going to use, but the point being is that you have to almost like learn an entire new language to engage in that. And it's not that complicated, but it's still complicated enough. I view so much of the digital currencies as money laundering assets as well. So I think so much of Epstein's involvement could have just been an avenue of money laundering.
I mean, he was working with Bannon, I guess we don't know he was working with Bannon we don't know this is how it's met, but most people are surmising that there's a good chance that Bannon and Epstein linked up over his online gaming currency. He was doing. Funny. Yeah, he was doing. I believe it was for like World of Warcraft. And I think Epstein might have been in some sort of World of Warcraft gold thing or something. Not really even a scam. Yeah, so it was just like a thing where people online World of Warcraft could literally buy gold using money, like the on-game currency, and so that's obviously an opening for essentially money laundering right there. And I think Steve Bannon had some sort of company tied into that as well. So a lot of people are surmise that this is sort of so. Yeah, to your point of like he was looking for multiple avenues of money. Now I don't know. I've heard a lot of people. I'm kind of out of my depth when we get to the nerd stuff like this. But I've seen a lot of people surmise that perhaps he was involved in like some of the early Bitcoin. Definitely was interested in some of the schisms when it came to like small chain, large chain type stuff. Some of the like the little theory stuff people got into. So he was really embroiled in all that stuff, but. It is kind of hard to. I know everyone wants to go to the craziest conspiracy and be like, he's clearly Satoshi. Maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't get to be all that like blown away. But it's also probably just as likely that he was just tapping into that spot for his own purposes.
Yeah. Well, just wanted to say thanks again. And last thing I can promote, maybe say on the way out, I got a song on YouTube. It's called Robert Maxwell. Maxwell with 2 X's. But yeah, check it out. And other than that, guys, you have a great night.
Hell yeah,
Robert
brother.
Maxwell
Thanks,
with 2 X's. By the way, it's D's Laughs on Instagram and Twitter is what you said in the chat. So, yeah. Appreciate you calling in, brother. Do it again sometime. We're going to bring in Rage to bring it in for a landing. Appreciate it. You have a good one.
All right.
All right,
Peace.
Rage. All right, we'll see you. Rage, bringing you in. Rage, what the fuck is up?
Yo, Rage, hold up, bro. I got to tell you something. Did you see the New York Post publication that basically they ran an article that said Trump was briefed that Iran's new supreme leader is probably gay?
Yeah. Which is funny. I actually saw it.
Or something, right?
Yeah, I saw that, and Trump's response was apparently like they made a big joke about it, like, and then everyone was just like, ha ha ha,
yeah,
like, look,
yeah, he's gay. Like, it was
but in the same breath, I'd put money on it that we're gonna get the same fucking nonsense about like herder throwing gays off roofs, that, like, which they've already done
exactly
a shitload of that
right
stuff.
After that, because like all the memes were like, oh, like I don't remember what the other, whatever every other,
It was like, by the way, it was like New York Post or something, I think too.
Yeah,
it's not like it's not like a paragon of like journalism, but it wasn't a nobody.
Somebody gay, which is, I mean, I don't know. Fuck.
I just the more think it's funny. I think it probably might be true. It seems like a weird.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I just more find it funny that they're leaning into that like herder, Haji. Yeah. I just find it funny they're leaning into the Haji propaganda while also doing that. Like, he's gay, but also they throw gays off roofs. You're like, which is it? Pick one.
Yeah, which one is it?
Yeah, exactly. But then you go into the like, oh, like when, like, oh, they, I guess all the stuff that, unfortunately, that we look into, it's like, oh yeah, they bring all these little boys and they just like shit on their chests and like everything's gay. Like, I mean, a hole's a hole to them at that point. Like, when you live in the goddamn desert, I mean, you're
bachabazi is what you're talking about, like certain cultural aspects of
where they were just taking little boys and making them dance.
Yeah, it really is. There's a
and it's like, black people are like, we invented twerking, and I'm like, I don't know. I think those the real black people invented twerking a couple hundred years ago.
I know. What do we got, Jacob? We got another call, brother? Oh, okay. Never mind.
That was weird. Okay.
Never
mind. He's teasing.
He's teasing, brother.
He's giving us the tip.
Note, breaking news, guys. Top U.S. government official at FEMA, I mean, he says he involuntarily teleported 50 miles away to Waffle House, and this was all against his
he's
will.
all, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Motherfucker. Dude, I wish I could teleport to a Waffle House right now.
I'm like, first of all, the problem lies within the fact that you were teleported to Waffle House. You know what I'm saying?
And
like,
he didn't leave with a black eye. I don't believe it.
I mean, if you had some sort of weird teleportation system that you had to like set static spots for it, Waffle House would be the place to do that. I mean, like,
I watched Quantum Leap, and I never saw this Scott Bakula teleport to a Waffle House.
No, and his
He was
name
always on some other shit. Scott Bakula would be like, "What?" It's like that one episode. He's like, "I'm retarded," but like
Yeah.
he was always on some other shit. Like he's teleporting it, and then he's like, I guess his guide was always like some very horny ass dude, and he's like, "Oh wow, you're in the 1940s. Let's fuck Marilyn Monroe." Which is one episode I did see where Marilyn Monroe is in the pool, and he's like, "What? You just gonna fuck her or not?" And I'm like, "What the fuck is this?"
Wow, interesting.
Dude, Quantum Leap is like they brought the new when they brought it back, and it was like some Asian dude. I was like, "What the fuck is this? No one's gonna believe this. Like,
That's
who's
so
gonna?"
funny.
They're just like no matter what time you teleport. I mean, I guess worst case scenario, you brought a black dude in it, but second worst, you brought an Asian. Like, what are you gonna? What point in time are you gonna teleport where they're gonna be like, "Yeah, let the Asian dude do it"? Like, it's like it's not it wasn't gonna work, and obviously it canceled after the first season.
Right. Yeah.
All right, Rage, I got to show you something, Rage. This is what I think about, especially when you're a shithouse and you call into the show. This
How'd
is
you
like,
guess? Whoa.
Rage, slow down. I want to show you something. I want to show you something
What if
that's
I'm
like what
sober?
I.
What if this is how I am?
This is what I think about when you're a shithouse and you call in, and it's also kind of like a go-to for like a drunk or whatever. This is what I find funny, but. Watch this. This is a Zach and Miri make a porno. This is a scene from that movie.
Dude, I love. Is it? Don't tell me it's a fucking where he's like, I'm not your
Just watch.
demographic.
Just watch.
Fucking Rothfit.
Oh yeah.
Roethlisberger, the quarterback, was all fucking hug it, chug it, football all night.
All night. I hate the fucking Steelers, but yeah.
Yeah. By the way, the little additional context.
He's like, I'm just here to get it. He's fucking Roethlisberger, hug it, chug it,
hug it,
I've been saying that since fucking middle school.
Yeah, that's what I always say whenever someone's being incomprehensible and drunk. I can check it football. But yeah, a little extra context. Little extra context for those who haven't seen the movie. He literally just walked into their little like coffee shop.
Coffee counter.
Yeah, and they're fucking in a porno, and he just walks in and like tries to order a coffee. So
it's a great movie, by the way.
It is a great movie. It's a very funny movie. Justin Long's hilarious, and it's probably one of his greatest cameos.
I tell all the time at work. He's you're not my demographic. What's your demographic? He's like, you love pussy? Yeah, not you.
Oh my God.
He's like, I film movies. He's like, and he's like, oh, any women? No women.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's too bad Ben Roethlisberger had to commit sexual assault in that bathroom.
Yeah, that too. I fucking hate the Steelers. So I hate the Steelers. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I fucking fuck the Steelers, fuck the Eagles big time. But when Ben Roethlisberger went down for rape, I was like, I knew it. I knew it.
I knew it. Such a raper. He does look like a big old raper. All right, Rage. I think we've I think we're ready to get it out of here. Appreciate you coming in, calling in, Rage, bringing us in for a landing. I'm glad we saved you for last. That was probably the better choice.
Yeah.
But Rage, you want to say bye to the people?
Yeah. Also, I know I had something to talk about.
It didn't seem like it, so that's why I said bye. But go ahead.
I hate being put on the spot. Shit. But it was, God damn it. Give me 1 second.
Okay. All right, well, Ray just left. Dude. I don't know if this is like a weird joke or what's going on here.
It was something. Can you hear me? No?
We can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Fuck, it's probably worth it. I'm probably just wasting my goddamn time. And
all right. Well, I don't know what's going on here, Ray.
Anyways,
so we're just
I don't know.
Oh.
Fuck. God damn it. I wrote it down.
Don't worry, dude.
There's a book in 1987.
Okay. We're getting there.
It was called After the Ball. And they're talking about, I guess, bring like simmering in the gay shit, and the book's called After the Ball, which I don't know. That just like has to be like some kind of innuendo, but they're basically, I don't know. Long story short, they're like, well, if we let the straight people. They're like, if we get them used to being wet, they're not going to bitch about us turning off the faucet. Like if we just keep it on, they're like at a certain time they're gonna get used to being wet. And this is me drunkly ranting about it. But that's like what it came to it as far as like how they're trickling in gay shit. And it's neither here nor there. I have a lot of gay friends in there.
What the fuck?
But it's like
Oh my God,
how they're
man.
trickling into putting in all the extra shit and like in the movies and like why does every movie have to have a gay like how when you're growing up it's like every episode maybe has like one gay person, but now everyone has to be gay, everyone has to be trans, and yada yada yada. I mean, it's a bad rant for me to go off on because
It's great. That's your show for today, guys.
It's just what came to my head right now. And
all right, Rage,
Jose put me on the spot. So here
I
we
put
are.
you on the spot. You, I don't think this qualifies putting you on the spot, but I'm glad you came on the spot, Rage. We're gonna let you go. Go huck it, chuck it, football, buddy. But we love you. Come huck it, chuck it, football with us anytime. Just let us know that you're in that.
You know
mode of
what's
mind.
crazy? I know this is all Jacob's fault.
Oh my God.
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere with that. Yeah, it's all Jacob's fault. He didn't keep us on format with our calls and intermission, and he let chaos take the fore. All right, Rage, we're gonna let you go. Love you, brother. Kicking you
I'll
out
be
before
back.
we get another in.
Don't
See you, buddy. We're out of here. Austin, you ready to get out of here? Let's do plugs and get the fuck out.
Sounds good, buddy. Sounds good. All right, guys. You already know you can find me at the Underclass Podcast. Definitely subscribe to the YouTube and the Rumble. If you have the means, the Patreon as well. Other than that, I did think, did you want to use one of the Lego, basically the Lego themed state-sponsored Iran war propaganda videos as an outro? Because I thought,
let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Because I thought that
Yeah,
there was a Wall Street Journal article that I just saw from the 22nd, I think it was, that ran with a headline that said the Lego themed Iranian propaganda winging its way around the internet is not an anomaly. It's a sign of how the global information wars are being waged. And then it goes into how Lego became a go-to meme of the propaganda wars. And that, again, I know we played last week, we played the original video from The Independent when they had published it, and we played it as an outro, so we didn't get to quite reference actively just the most extraordinary and ridiculous aspects of it. But the fact that you have Bibi Netanyahu just like running, fleeing from danger in these tunnels, right? And yeah, you have these like Hasidic Jews who are basically crying while they're fleeing from drone strikes and things of that nature. It's just, again, a reflection of the cartoonish phase of reality we have truly entered. And this is something
I was saying before the show. I would like to put in a request to the Iranian overlords here. If you can do the "Everything Is Awesome" song, but with Iranian propaganda and Iranian, little Lego people, that would be super hype. Just saying. But go on, Austin. Sorry.
Honestly, no, you're good. I just thought that it's a great example of the beyond the pale, just as the fact of the cartoonish reality that we are currently residing in, and the fact that this perfectly represents everything that I never imagined as far as the average person being willing to accept, and yes, this might be an appeal to the younger generations to romanticize war, whatever the case may be. But I legitimately view this as kind of almost a condemnation of our intellectual ability at large as a public, as just our inability to just kind of navigate the waters of propaganda and just in a real constructive way diagnose these conflicts and these problems and these especially the legislative actions that cause the ultimate kind of result and outcome that are far too many people are under aware, and therefore they are kind of residing at that surface level and unable to engage in reality as it truly presents itself. And so here we are in the clown world, post reality phase, where basically we're relying on Iranian war propaganda that's Lego themed to drag our politicians and elected representatives through the mud. And honestly, they're doing a great job. As much as I just completely am in opposition philosophically to any government or administration of any kind that is in power. Yeah, or just a structured government. Honestly, it's obviously that it's obvious that I kind of reject this at face value in a real way, but still appreciate the fact that, if you didn't notice, at the end of last week's episode, when we did play the video, they reference the American and Israeli regime as terrorists, right? Who have effectively, targeted civilian casualties and children, for that matter. And they're not wrong, right? And that's the only point that I wanted to make before we played the video is and by the way, I'm going to play the Stu Peters version, which is from an Iranian basically from an Iranian publication, but specifically, I just thought this is the funniest version that I've seen go viral, and Stu Peters specifically had posted it, and he said in his tweet of this video, Iran clowned Trump as a pedophile, Netanyahu puppet, an overall loser in their latest Lego hype video, and it is honestly hilarious. But there was an additional officially state-sanctioned propagandistic video, Lego themed, that Iran posted of Lego Trump basically in full-blown sweat as the Navy basically attacks tankers and warships and deploys mines, the Iranian Navy, in the Strait of Hormuz. And so I did think, again, it's we're just at this unprecedented kind of moment that is unbelievable, to witness. So that's that. Honestly, I'll bring up the Stu Peters tweet, and I love you, brother. I love all of you. I appreciate you showing up and giving us the opportunity to run our mouths in the apocalypse, right? As I see you continually post your solo interviews with what's his name? Damn it, why am I forgetting his name? Who's that
Tyler.
dude? Yeah, Tyler. And then you had I love Tyler, by the way. I met him at Bro Grove. He was great, but I'm forgetting his name starts with an R. I don't know why I'm forgetting his name right now. He basically was MIA for a while. He works on a construction crew, right? I'm a libertarian dude. You just had him on a couple times. Why the fuck am I forgetting his name?
A construction guy? I don't know. Oh, Reed.
Yes, dude.
Reed.
Thank you. Reed Coverdale. Yeah, that's his name. I don't know why the hell it was escaping me.
Okay.
But anyway, I love the title for your conversations with Reed. And because it's just so poignant and applicable to the current moment. And it does feel like we're just having a casual conversation with a buddy during the apocalypse, right? And it's just kind of extraordinary to I don't know, witness again firsthand. So I love you, brother.
I love you too. Let me drop my plugs before we play that real quick.
Do your thing.
For those who want to support what I'm doing over here, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, all the major audio podcatchers, and Twitter as well. On Twitter, that's at TowerGangJose. Everywhere else, that's the No Way Jose podcast. Just search it up. You'll find me there. For those who want to support me, the best way you can, you do the money over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. That gives you access to early episodes. I try to do about 1 to 2 of those per week. Give you guys access to those early episodes. Try to keep about 3 to 4 behind the paywall at any given time. You can also get access to ad-free RSS feed. You get access to Telegram. You get access to pre-show, post-show, and video calls on this show right here, Already Dead, which is on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. I also give a big shout out to my sponsors, which is the highest level of my Patreon, which little fun. Hey, the guy we were talking to earlier right here, Rex Crassus, says he's looking. He says if you guys are looking for a sponsor, if we're interested. I don't know what you mean by that, but definitely hit us up. I like money. Austin likes money. Assuming you have a nice product, I think we'll be on board with that. I don't know. I mean, obviously hit us up. I don't know if maybe you just mean like a patron sponsor. I'm open to whatever there. But the patrons are the ones I read off. The patron sponsors, the highest level of my Patreon. I read them off every episode as a big thank you for their support. Real quick, I just say a super chat coming in on the wire. GitHub Enoch sending in a $5 to either me or Austin. I'm not sure which one of us it is, but either way, thank you. He says thanks, y'all. Thank you to you as well. And a big thank you to my Patreon sponsors, the highest level. Big thank you to Toad, my previous co-host and Tower Gang, at Leonard Toad, also at Brigade D's, at ZOVRCK, at _Invisiel, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebo, big fan of the show, Torn May, at Wayne Tackers, 100 Car for Kids, No Free Lunch, Jack, Mark Vestibule, and Jacob Wintergrad of the Biblical Anarchy Podcast. I'll catch you guys tomorrow around 11 a.m. Eastern, give or take, on the morning show, the Morning Dump. That's my daily show where I try to stream around 11 a.m. Monday through Friday. So pop in there if you want to hang out. But anyways, sorry, I know a lot of plugs there, but enjoy this outro. We'll see you guys on the next one. See you guys, already deadheads, on the flip side.
Yeah. You crossed the ocean just to find your grave. Sacrifice your own boys for a lie. Listen. Yeah. Yeah. Make America great again. Yo, Tails, this shit crazy. Yeah, make America great again now. We will see what happens, yeah. Watch this. Sacred defense, we protecting the soil. While you sacrifice soldiers to pay for your spoil. You once who ran the globe, sitting on your throne. Now we turning every base into a bed of stone. It's a slaughterhouse, a trap you couldn't see. Welcome to the graveyard of your vanity. The secrets are leaking. The pressure is rising. We locked on the target. And now you are hiding. LOSC. Yeah, we spelling at your name. Send them to the slaughter, you the only one to blame. Bleeding for a fucker while you shaking in your sweet. LOSC. Taste the ass of defeat. LOSC. Yeah, we spelling at your name. Send them to the slaughter, you the only one to blame. Bleeding for a fucker while you shaking in your sweet. LOSC. Taste the ass of defeat. Swag's fighting in your suit, hiding Epstein's ghost. You sent your boys to die on the bloody coast. Not a revenge for the leader's blood is purely mine. Every drop of his blood is a missile on the line. You thought you took him out, thought the fire was dead, but another common enemy is standing ahead. Yeah, you strike one down, we just shatter your brain. We put another in the leg. Common again. The secrets are leaking. The pressure is rising. We locked on the target. And now you are hiding. LOSC. Yeah, we spelling out your name. Send them to the slaughter, you the only one to blame. Bleeding for a cup and while you shaking in your sweet. LOSC. Taste the ash. LOSC. Yeah, we spelling out your name. Send them to the slaughter, you the only one to blame. Bleeding for a puppet while you shaking in your sweet. LOSC. Taste the ash of defeat. Sacred defense of the homeland. Sacred defense of the homeland. Sacred.